Well, when we're talking about, women being the prize, that comes from the idea that the woman is also a virgin, that she comes from an upstanding culture and an upstanding family. It's the assumption that she knows how to be a homemaker. This is also biblical, right? In the Bible, the Bible says that women need to not be worried about what's going on in the streets. They need to be focused on being able to manage the home, right? So when you look at that traditional way of looking at women as being the prize, that's what it's about. But the problem is you got women out here who are, one strap of clothing away from being a streetwalker, really believing that they're the prize in a situation, and they can't get over the fact that maybe they're not considered the prize. Now, do I believe that women are prizes? No, not in today's society. I think it can be just as well a man. I think that more men are sticking to their traditional roles as being providers, protectors, problem solvers, prophets, and priests than women are being with their traditional roles as being submissive, focused on wellness, being feminine, and holding men in high esteem and all that. So I think that more or less she was probably in the right, because having a great career as an Olympian or having a great career period does not make a woman more attractive to men,
You
right? How
said
does
that.
that?
So you said you thought that she was right.
Yeah, I agree with her pursuit of him, but I'm saying that women are seeing her value much different than men are seeing her value.
Oh, oh,
Her
for sure.
jumping around in the say again.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. I for sure.
So her jumping around as a gymnast in the Olympics, very admirable. But none of that
Hmm.
quantifies her as being a great wife, being submissive, being able to hold a man in high esteem, prioritizing the things of God and managing your home. None
Hmm.
of that has anything to do with what the Bible or what tradition says that a woman should be. So she may be successful, but what does success have to do with you being married? From a secular standpoint and from a biblical standpoint, men aren't looking for women who are successful in and of itself. They're looking for women to be women that help them make pizza, that help them focus on their purpose. Does that make sense?
It does. So what you're saying is he was the prize.
He probably isn't either, to be honest. But what matters is, I don't know if he's a Christian or not, but what
Yeah.
matters is he's doing traditionally what he's supposed to be doing as a man: provider, protector, problem solver, prophet, and priest. I'm assuming he's doing those things, but
Right.
there's no evidence that Simone Biles is what men are looking for in women by what she's accomplished. Is all I'm saying. Being an Olympian and doing those things does not mean that she's a submissive wife.
Right.
But him being in the NFL means at a minimum he can provide. You know,
Hmm.
you get what I'm saying?
For
What am
sure.
I missing? What am I missing here? Team Love.
You on the right path. I mean, I have no objections.
No, no, no. I was saying that.
Yeah. So she had some more things she was going to say. Let's see here.
Grocery sandwich. Yeah. Thank you.
She did a shoot with Variety, and she said that she's never done anything. She said that the big something to the effect of the shoot with Variety was, oh, here it is. She basically said in her Variety interview
Shoot.
that um, marrying her husband was a bigger accomplishment in how she felt than actually winning the Olympics. Here it is. I've never had so much fun in my life talking to Vanity, and it says I was 19 when I won my first Olympics, and I was like, how am I supposed to top this? And what does she say? As a woman who values her husband and holds her man in high esteem, my wedding topped it. It was the greatest feeling ever. Now she's not allowed to talk like that, right? She's not allowed to talk like that because that means that she's getting more satisfaction out of being a woman to a man than she is being a woman to a career and modernity, being modern. Can't talk like that
This.
nowadays.
I mean, I just everything you're saying. I completely agree with it, man. And I just look at this whole like modern, especially modern times now, and see so many different points where it's like the women are always the ones who win with the guy that they allow to pick them. Basically, usually they're not picking men, but like we say here, Simone Biles actually did pick this guy and she went after him. So that's courageous and admirable and all of that to me, right?
It can
Because
be
I
a little
think,
bit. She made herself available. You know,
yeah,
I read a book with Gary Thomas, Sacred Search, and it said that women should not be aggressive in their pursuit, but when they're being pursued, maybe every once in a while they should break a branch so the hunter can find them, and maybe that's what
yeah.
she's doing.
I mean, it's. I think that's something to each his own. You know what I mean? Because when we as guys like this whole conversation that we have here in this group and that's been had for these last couple of years, it's been saying like how men don't we don't actually like need women to live like regular lives for ourselves, but
Mm,
on the other hand, for a woman to fulfill like a woman's necessary, like her actual purpose,
mm.
which is having a baby, like raising a family, you gotta have a guy. You gotta have a guy. So men are okay being like completely single for your whole life, and our purpose is service and duty. Woman's purpose is it's mating with someone. It's
Well,
having
not
someone
even
else.
not necessarily mating with someone, but I get what I pick up what you're putting down. But the Bible does say explicitly that men were not made for women, but women were made for men.
Hmm.
Man is the glory of God, and women are the glory of men. The Bible says that. That flies in the face of even Christian women's perspective of themselves, because they believe that they should be the prize and that the world should, and which may not be bad, but they believe that the world should revolve around their prerogative and their way of seeing the relationship world. I was looking at a post today from a Christian sister, and she was talking about how it's hard to choose a man and things of that nature. And they were saying how they need to keep their standards high and things of that nature, but not a single word from what I recall in that comment or other comments centralize the man and say, "Wow, we need to become something that's of value to these men." The
Hmm.
conversation is always around the man needs to become something for me, or
Yeah.
I'm focusing on God and the man is an asterisk or an accessory to my life. It's not what the
Yeah.
Bible says, though.
Yeah.
The Bible
I
says very clearly that women were made for men. You're supposed to be an asset to that man. But nothing was being discussed as far as how can I be of value to that man. It's always under the assumption that she's the prize, which I said before, virgin, everything else that the Bible considered to be a prize. None of that's happening in modern day. But
Hmm.
they still want to put themselves in that category. What am I missing, guys?
Well, so then what I want to rebuttal with is even if they are meeting all the requirements to be in the quote unquote prize, like they still are in search of something that, like, most women are just not gonna be living by themselves and successfully living by themselves. So they're gonna be in pursuit of someone to live with, whether it's a husband, whether now modern day it's a girlfriend or whatever. So there's this thing where I'm like, okay, well, men can be out here operating the way we operate, and yeah, let's get it. Like if you're worldly, then you are a guy that's out here looking for people, to just
Hmm.
sleep around with. But you can sleep around with countless women and never need one of them to be in your space in your house and raise a family with. But women on the other hand, it's not gonna go that way.
And they're more
So
dependent. They're more dependent of man. But is that true because
yeah.
of so many modern conveniences that we have? Men have conquered the world and made it extremely easy for women to live in. We've fought back the saber-toothed tigers and other men that
Mhm.
are bad. Haven't we made it easy for women to also be independent of men?
Well, that's evidenced by the way we live now. Yeah,
Mhm.
100%. But can they do like without though? Can you go completely without? I've got a wife who does not want to kill her own spiders. She's very capable of it, but let's be honest, like she doesn't want to. She doesn't want to worry about fixing the little stuff that she's not gonna call a plumber or electrician for or whatever.
Mm.
So it's just women are in search of of something. Typically, they're not usually gonna be alone for forever. And
Yeah.
guys can. It's a difference. It's just my point. I don't think I'm rounding it out very well, but men, when a woman finds a great husband, or when a great husband finds a wife, she has found like a blessing, because in current day what we see is so many women find good donors for their children, and they're not, these guys not sticking around.
Hmm.
So it's like, how much of a prize were you really if you couldn't you can't hold on to this guy or whatever.
Well, we know
uh
the truth behind that. We know that most women are procreating with, John Travius down
mhm,
in, on MLK Boulevard, that's sleeping in his mom's basement. We know that that's where most of the children from our community come from. Most of the interest from our women are coming from that. And even a lot of our Christian women, they don't necessarily want, we said it 1,000 times, they don't want the guy who is running pipe and drape in church, the dude who is working the AV system, but his hair ain't been cut in a month. They don't want him, even though he's at church
mhm.
every day and he believes in God and will die for Christ. He's not good enough. They want, most of the women in the church want 5 to 8% of the few men that are even there. Every other man is invisible, you know?
It's true. It's
So we
true.
have a big issue on our hands. And on top of that, the women are still continuing to expect and keep their standards extremely high as age becomes more of an issue for them, because let's just admit, most guys are not looking for women their same age, and neither are women. This is, I don't know why we don't acknowledge this. On top of that, women become a little bit more difficult to deal with as they get older.
Yes, they do.
Men too, but it doesn't tend to affect us as badly. And there's the looks component. Men are attracted and we're visual. That's not anything evil about that. God spoke to Samuel and he said that man looks on the outside, but God looks at in the heart. That wasn't the 11th commandment that it's evil. It's a statement of fact, right?
Hmm.
So as women get older, as their looks begin to change, as they become more hardened in who they are, et cetera, their options reduce. And I don't know why they think that this it's only going to get better with age. I don't know why or where that comes from. And they're still again only competing for that 5 to 15% of men that are in church, which is only 30% of men. It's it's a comedy of numbers, and I don't know how to make it work. Now the response you're going to get from most women is God will make it work. But the problem that comes into play with that is it has to be a man that goes down on one knee and proposes to you, and that man is going to have standards and requirements of you.
Hmm.
It,
And that's not a prize. That's not a prize to have somebody come for you and to stay for you. Even you know, you get where I'm. Do you get where I'm going with it?
I think so.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like what you said earlier when you were like, I think it was a quote. You said sometimes you got to break the branch to so the hunter can know where you are.
Yeah, that's Gary Thomas. He mentions that in Sacred Search, and he tries to get us away from this romantic pursuit of a relationship, which is what we do as Christians, right? And he's saying if you're gonna if it's as bad as I say it is, or if it's Gary Thomas's example of bad in dating, then you need to choose someone who's gonna help you build the kingdom. That may not be a dude that looked like Idris Alba. It may look like a dude that looked like Steve Urkel. If that's the case, and even if you are a woman looking for a guy that you're somewhat attracted to, you shouldn't make it too hard for you to be caught by the hunter.
Mhm.
He says that if you're a deer and you're running through the forest and you're trying to be caught, you may have to break a few branches.
Hundred
And I
percent.
don't think
You
that
said
women
that
are even.
yourself, not just for women, but for men also. You know, like Christians as a whole. You got to do something. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you got to do something
Well, that's
to.
the thing. That's the thing, bro. Women don't feel that they should do anything for men because we're not worth it in their eyes, in my opinion. Most, if not all women, not shouldn't say most, if not all,
That's why
the
I loved
vast
it because
majority of
Simone
women
Biles is
don't
an
feel like
attractive
we're
woman.
worthy of doing anything special for, but they feel like we should qualify and do things to be special and chosen by them. The
Right.
problem is when you look at the Bible, the book of Ruth, which they always quote with Boaz and Ruth, she jumped through hurdles to get that man. She changed who she was to get him. But the idea is that as women, they don't have to change at all to get a good man because God is just going to give them what they want. They can be a nickel looking for a dime. They don't have to learn how to be submissive. Ooh.
Don't have to learn anything.
They don't have to learn how to focus on their wellness and nutrition and be in good shape. They don't have to be feminine. You know, they don't have to worry about holding men in high esteem and respecting them. They don't, you know, at most, they're just temples of the Holy Spirit. It's as if they were going to marry Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a man that has to choose you.
Yeah.
Sadly, they learn more often how to be a single woman, single mother, especially these days.
Yeah.
100%.
What'd you say,
100%.
DK?
Be a submissive wife. You're gonna learn something.
You had something, DK?
Nah, you good. You good. I'm just
I'm
listening.
just, I had one question, y'all. Why they call it a package if we not the prize?
Well, you had again. We in modern times, we have lost the meaning of what that is. A prize for a woman was to be a virgin. Know how
Yeah.
to cook and clean when you come out your mom and dad's house. Know how to manage financially. If you had a gift, sewing or whatever, you were able to have a contribution to the home and maybe outside, right? Proverbs 20:31. The man was the prize because he couldn't even marry a woman until he was probably in his 30s because he had to go from being a apprentice to a journeyman to a craftsman in whatever kind of trade he was in. And that didn't happen until you were in your 30s, you know? So men had to develop trying to marry someone like when you're 22 was like why are you marrying a 22-year-old? He's useless. They would let it happen, but it's like ridiculous. Men had to become something before they were able to marry someone. The Virgin Mary, she was probably every bit of 16 or so years old when she married Joseph, who may have been in his 30s or older. The biggest issue in the church we keep hearing about in the Bible, all these widows and orphans and all this, the widows and homeless people. Why were there so many widows in the church? These women were marrying men when they were 16 and 19 years old. The men were marrying in their 30s and 40s and dying in 30 or 20 years. And the women were widows in their early 30s. That's why the widow ministry was so important. And Paul had so many of them. He's like, if you're a widow, don't get caught up in all this mumbo jumbo. Find you a good God-believing man and marry him. Remarry. So those women were a prize in their youth, in their ability to be virgins and being able to run and manage a home. That was the prize. Now, a girl on Instagram, busting it out, going on trips every 5 minutes, never at home and managing the home like Paul says women should do that are valuable, right? All this other extracurricular stuff, the attitude, the cursing, the feminist ideas, seeing men as a problem instead of as a solution, and the people who conquered the world for women to have what we have nowadays. The lack of respect for men. Those are the prize too? Those women are the prize? Help me out now.
With y'all, I was just trying to make the teeth straight. Sorry.
So
I love this because I mean, Simone Biles is not the representation of all women, right? But since they're paying attention to her, I love this because, like you said, you gotta break the branch. So I'm sure she didn't have to do much.
She broke some branches.
Her husband is a man, but she at least let him know, I'm interested in you. And maybe that helped him put the effort in.
Oh, she broke the branches because you know what he was caught up in? He was caught up in focusing on his purpose. He said he didn't know who she was because he was too busy training for his purpose. And they got mad about that. The truth of the matter is he was a bit distracted, you know, but she held him in high esteem. She actually is attracted to him. And you see the way she looks at that man. She is in absolute love with that dude, you know? When you look at her in videos and stuff like that, she just fawns over him. And women hate it. They hate for her being in love because she's putting him on a pedestal. And in modern society, the worst thing you can do as a woman is respect a man. What kind of world are we living in? How can we start families like this if only one sex in the relationship has any credential or any credibility or any viability? You get what I'm saying, guys?
I do.
Yeah,
I
quite the
do. I
mess.
like how you said she's putting him on a pedestal
They hate
again.
it because they
Yeah, they
think
hate it.
she's better than him. But how is she better than him? Because she's successful like a man. She's accomplished things in the secular world. What has she accomplished as a wife? To be what we said before, someone who's able to be sweet, SWEET, submissive, wellness, effeminate, hold men in high esteem, temples of the Holy Spirit. That's what men want. They're not looking for a woman who's a gymnast just for the sake of being a gymnast and got 5 gold medals. I can't cook no gold medal. Forgive me, ladies. I know y'all mad about that one, but it's the truth. Men just do not prioritize those things. Women do. Women want other women to marry men. They want men to marry women who are like men, and it's just not working. And that's why so many women are struggling. But you can't say
Yeah.
that, or you get in trouble. So we,
Yep.
we
Get
continue to,
canceled.
to, to
Cat said,
spiral down.
Cat said something about that too. I don't want to misquote him, but it was on point.
Yeah. He
What was
did.
that?
That a lot of these the women are becoming the alpha, and they want submissive husbands, and they can't have one. 9 out of 10 men are not gonna submit to their wives. Like, I get it, you're a team and all of that, but some of those traditional values, there's something to that. And if you're looking for a submissive man as a woman, good luck. It's not many out there.
Well, they feel that having a man who is softer and who's weaker, it'll put them in a more egalitarian world, a more egalitarian society. They think that by men surrendering their masculinity, it will make them more comfortable and allow them to achieve more as women move in their masculinity. But the truth of the matter is, women are not attracted to men who are not masculine at the end of the day. They tend to not be attracted or respect these kind of men. So
They
women
don't
are in a
respect.
trick bag. They don't know what they want. And it's not our job to help them figure it out. We can say what we need to say, but at the end of the day, women are going to do what they want to do, and it's not our job to get frustrated by that and get wrapped around the axle. All we can do is focus on our purpose as men, and we need to get our marching orders from God, and we need to focus on that and make pizza. If God is telling us to make pizza, we make pizza. We don't get distracted by what women say they want or what they don't want. At the end of the day, it's going to be us that chooses them. We're the ones going down on one knee and choosing them. Not they're not going to be doing that with us. So when women are out here confused and trying to figure it out, I'm sorry. We're only going to deal with women who help us make pizza, and that's the bottom line. And I don't know why guys get spun around the axle trying to argue with women. It's a fruitless endeavor, and it's not an effective use of time. What men need to be focused on is finding women who are able to get on their program and help them make pizza. Am I crazy?
Yes.
Nah, you right. You right on point.
So all this stuff is not really doing us any good. It's like, so what? Let them be mad. We want to help the women, but when we try to help them, they get upset. But at the end of the day, it's not going to make a difference because we're going to be the ones who choose them. If they don't get on board with what we need them to do to help us fulfill God's purpose for our lives and our families, then we just choose somebody else who's willing to do it and let them, hang out with the studs and the thugs in the black community. That sound about right?
I mean, yeah, to an extent.
And
To an
Simone is
extent.
beautiful too. But they just can't imagine someone who's an attractive, beautiful woman like this pedestalizing a man. Oh my goodness, the evil.
And, and meanwhile, she married, and so many others aren't. It's funny. It's kind of funny when you look at it from the
Mm.
outside in.
What is that?
Uh, this is the way. Like, this is truly the way I feel like the modern day, like dating and courting and all of this should work. I say, like breaking a branch, you might want to break the branches off until they notice or whatever,
Cut the whole tree
women,
down.
yeah, take the whole tree down, leave it in the forest. You can't get across this without noticing. Like women have so much power in their youth. They have so much more power in their youth. Like a woman who is in her youthful stage can literally command a man all the way up until
No, you got
his
that
peak.
wrong. You got that wrong. A woman's youth is her time to find herself and have fun.
That's what society says. But how's it working out for us as a society? It's
You
it's,
know?
it's not looking that good. At least not for our community. It's not looking that good.
Yeah, they're supposed to, find themselves and have fun. And if
Thank
that
you.
if that involves sex, even better. So while women are squandering the best years of their lives from a man's perspective, and that's a problem too, because that's what men want. We don't want quote unquote mature older women. Um, it's not their fault that they're too young and dumb. Women are the smartest thing in the world until they're 25 years old and trying to get married, right? So it's like I don't know what the deal is, but they're going against the way they're programmed, and they're going against the way men are programmed and the way God has programmed this world. Women lose a lot of their natural ability even to reproduce after a certain age, right? 35 is geriatric pregnancy for women. And we're telling women to hold off marriage and children and all this other stuff until they're in their mid to late 30s,
Yeah.
because they're pursuing some career. Simone Biles, she's what, 27, 29 years old or something like that. And
Hmm.
her biological clock is ticking and she's not trying to ignore it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
She's a beautiful woman. Did I mention that before? And
You
the thing
did.
is, but
you,
the thing
you talk
about it
about
is,
somebody's wife, Punch. Come on, man.
oh my God, I gotta care. I gotta be careful here. She is, but I think she's a gorgeous woman, and we're gonna judge women based off how they look, no matter how mad they get about that. That's just how it is. The same way they're turned into sex objects, we're turned into success objects. You know,
100%.
most, if not all, women are not interested in being with a man who is an absolute loser. And we
Mhm.
accept that as men. Anyway, y'all got me going crazy over here.
Hey man, no, it takes me back to the prize conversation. Like I've been, I'm almost pushing 40, and the whole way along the lines, I've always heard plenty of women that will brag on their man, and they will brag on men in general. They will brag on other men. They will
When?
always brag on
Where they
men.
do that at?
This is what women do. You ever hear women brag about themselves or brag about other women?
Oh, they do that about themselves, but I don't hear women holding men in high esteem like publicly nowadays. Like that's how Simone Biles got in trouble. She was holding her
Now, I'm
man in high esteem.
I don't mean straight publicly. I mean just like in my dealings, I hear women, like women who are married, women who are in successful relationships, they're gonna build up their man, they're gonna brag on their man. Like they are bragging on
Mm.
their husband or the person that's holding that role in their lives. Women, females brag on their daddies like a lot. Uh, but along the way, it's a reach for me to hear like a man bragging about like his wife and what his wife does, because that's what it typically is. It's like the woman's bragging on the man about what, or on her husband or her man about what he has or what he's doing or what he's working on trying to do and things like that. I don't really hear it go the other way.
Hmm. You saying men don't typically brag on what women do?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I
so it
don't
just
know.
goes to your point. Like women end up looking at the person that they're getting with as a success figure
Yeah,
instead
yeah.
of
Well, they're not even
it's
looking at a guy, and especially in today's society, like men have to be almost perfect just to qualify for an average woman. And then there's an added level of you would think, since there's so few Christian men out there, that women would be like, wow, there's only like five guys in this church of 500 people. Let me find a good man here. But they're even looking at these guys sideways because the one dude is 5'7", and his left foot is a half an inch bigger than his right. disqualified, and God forbid if he's, still staying with his mom. This He's a Christian man. This is the closest thing you're gonna get to Boaz. But a lot of women, if they can't marry, they would rather move to a different state, or they would focus on themselves, and that means they're getting another degree or something. And they look up and they're 32 years old.
Yeah.
And by that time it's like, they've kind of yeah, I know what I'm trying to say. They've kind of priced themselves out of the market,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
And as a man, it's tough to tell women that, because they get mad at you and they feel that they still have value, which is true. They have value when it comes down to being an auntie, or with their job, or what they contribute to the community. But there is some attrition on their value with their dating ranking, right? That dating ranking is going to go down, because men their age are most likely not looking for a woman their age once you get to a certain level. The same way when they were 28 and 29, they were trying to date the 33 and 34-year-old. Now, of course, you're going to have women saying, "Not me. I wanted to have a young." And we're talking about this is a broadcast, so we're doing a broadcast of what the general situation is in dating, not these exceptions. And that's the problem. We keep trying to make everyone a special snowflake and an exception to the truth. Not all these women, if we continue to go the way we are going to find a man. Point blank,
Yeah.
period. There's just not enough men to go around. And if they continue to make these sometimes ridiculous standards, sometimes the standards women have are very much warranted. But a lot of the standards are just too ridiculous. There's no reason why so many men that are halfway decent are overlooked, because they don't look like or act like Tupac with a PhD in speaking tongues. It's not going to work.